Alright, so we're going to try and do a little bit of a follow-up here. Um, since the last video, obviously you're going to be progressing as you get pieces, and I'm just going to show you kind of a little more in detailed explanation the why you do what you do the way you do it, essentially. And hopefully it'll explain a couple of things a little better. So, for starters, I'm going to start with the fact that I finally got a rattle cage. It's an ice staff, whatever. I threw Crusher on it just because I personally enjoy, on my offensive staff, having the Crusher because of the major minor, plus the Crusher. Just the more I can increase the divide of the spell resistance, the more damage I can do. And I got a rattle cage resto staff. So for starters, in my skill line here, so we've maxed out the light armor and we've maxed out the heavy armor, and since we're not wearing any medium, we don't run any points into medium. The other thing I've changed is I've gone with Elemental Storm as opposed to the Nova for my ultimate on my offensive bar. So yeah, the Molikinas, instead of running heavy, I'm running light. And the one piece gives me 124 weapon and spell damage. Still running, Rattle Cage and Spell Power Cure. But with the weapons being 2, there's 3, there's 4, there's 5 pieces of Rattle Cage, the pants or whatever. And then I'm running Spell Power Jewelry, and then 2 pieces, the waist and the feet of SPC, until I can get, the shoulders I need for the monster shoulders, and then I'll be dropping the rattle cage from the shoulders to do that. And then I'll have to work on farming the spell power cure weapons. But the other thing too is, so I went and I got the spell damage enchants. They were purple, they weren't the yellow. They were like 6k a piece or whatever. You should have plenty of gold to buy those. So there's 300, and Molikinas, makes 400. So we're like 475 on the weapon and spell damage, just from those pieces. We're real close to 500. And then I wound up dropping my recovery boon for the apprentice boon, so there's another 300, so that's 7, 8, that's 800 spell damage, 800 and change spell damage added to my so now instead of, so healing benefits from spell damage, right? So having high spell damage means you can have powerful heals. The other thing too is under the skill tree here, or the heavy armor, it's increase your healing received. Where was it? So the having a chunky, health recovery that doesn't max health. The heavy attack restore here is nice, because then you can, so I don't have to run such a high recovery when my heavy attacks are doing really chunky restores for my magicka and stamina. So the you know, 12 and 12 roughly for each. Like, in the way I wound up getting that balance was running one light on the head, light on the waist, and light on the feet. So, and then the chest, the legs, hands, shoulders for the heavy pieces, basically. Between the light and heavy to get that balance. And then what that wound up taking me to was now my resistance is 20k and 15k physical. But on my healing bar, oh, that's not. It's 23k and 19k. $29k now and 25k. 32k is cap. 32k spell and 27k physical. With 4800, it gets to like 5200 on my weapon damage. Let me run out to the outside of this little town place that I'm in so I can. But yeah, so I've pretty much got to where I've hit resistance cap for spell, and I've gotten really close to hitting resistance cap for physical, which, you know, as just a generic, like a casual healer, you're not going to be relying on the group around you to be providing you with the proper buffs all the time, etc., etc., etc. So, combat prayer. Let's look at combat prayer real quick under the combat prayer gives me that minor resolve, which is 3k to my resistances. The 6k from the channeled whatever, what is it called? Channeled focus there? Right. So between those two, it puts me at resistance cap roughly. Now when I switch my, when I switch my staff, so when I'm healing, okay, if I happen to be stuck healing a group, I'm basically at resistance cap, or real close to it. $5,200 on the spell damage. It's not bad. So, yeah. The spell damage again comes from the power of the light proccing the 10% damage here from Illuminate. Let's see, was there something else that I wanted to touch on as far as CP went? No, it was the overflow last time, the AoE heals and the healing over time, because that's the two types of healing we do. The single target healing we don't do. The weapon and spell damage, the healing abilities we don't care about. Well, you know, we wanted the critical damage, critical healing damage, because that affects jabby spears and heals. We're gonna start going into this eventually, but we went just a little into the offensive penetration, and then now we started focusing on getting these defensive passives, so we can just get a little tougher throughout vet content. And in this tree again, it was, we went after movement speed. Eventually, what we're working our way towards now is spirit mastery for that last, slottable, the last active in the champion bar or whatever up there. So we'll be going just enough to unlock this, and then just enough to unlock that, and then we'll be going into spirit mastery so we can res our buddies as quickly as we can. And then after we've gotten that, we'll finally go back to topping off rejuvenation at the very end for the, recovery to compensate for taking out all of the recovery that we did off of the rings and off of our boon or whatever. Under the skills, it was pretty much the passives for the light armor, which it's interesting. Your recovery cost reduction I get from here as opposed to getting cost reduction on the ring. I'm gonna go bloodthirsty on my necklace probably. Little bit of resistances there as well. Some weapon and spell crit, as you can see, and some penetration. But yeah, maxing out the light and heavy passives. Go in all the passives in the... you can see I don't have anything else other than what abilities I use. I have nothing else really. I didn't unlock anything if I'm not using it. If it's not on my bar currently, between these two bars, it's not unlocked. This setup is going to tide me over until I decide to start doing trials until I decide to start doing vet trials with groups that are going for, like, where I need specific gear sets. Like, I will never need to change this set. I can do overland content just as easily as I can heal vet groups. The damage is there. We saw that with the 5k now, with the 5200 on the damage. The resistances being at cap, basically. 30k magicka, 25k health. Just always make sure that you have... So, under your skills, you always want to start off with elemental drain, and then apply power of the light, and then a light attack, puncturing sweep, light attack, puncturing sweep until that explodes. And then I reapply power of the light because I want that high spell damage. And then once I've reapplied it with that high spell damage, because this is going to scale off of spell damage, I'll drop the heal, I'll drop my rapid, and then I will, because see, 2150, 21k, let's see if we can, let's try something. $26. So that will get close to, and that gets close to like 30k over 5 seconds. All of these heals, that's healing for 3500 every 2 seconds. All of these heals get buffed by that by that spell damage being buffed up to 5k. Like the people who, like, if you can get your spell damage to like 6 or 7k, you're cranking out some DPS by then. 5k is a really, really, really good number for a casual player for your spell damage. Decent amount of penetration. You know, the recovery at 1200, it's really not a issue. In all honesty, a heavy attack, one solid heavy attack with my resto staff or with my frost staff, and I get it all right back, basically. But it was the understanding the buff you get from combat prayer with the allies' damage and the giving them the physical resistances as well. So keeping combat prayer and rapids up as like your main spammables, and then your 2 set and forget basically is going to be your energy orb and your extended ritual. And I typically, like, I will offset if this light pole is the tank, okay, and the light is where he's got the boss and the boss is facing him going rah 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 rah. I will offset somewhere over here, right, like this to the tank, so I can just sit here and keep him inside that and just feed him orbs, and he's also inside of my combat prayer cone. And then I'll just sit here and go to town on the boss or whatever, because I believe there is an ability, if you really wanted to go a little more DPS, like if you wanted to drop the combat prayer's effectiveness, right? You would drop but area of effect heals also affects your jabby spears. Your jabby spears is an area of effect damage ability, so it's the healing is based off of an area effect. So I don't know if I would do that or not, but if you really wanted to, you could probably drop the Swift Renewal and Soothing Tide, and you could probably go Backstabber and your damage done with area effect Biting Aurora and Backstabber, if you wanted to go more damage oriented instead of the healing oriented, dropping these 2 for those 2. But I would, as a healer, I would definitely keep this at least, and then just not even because your healing is going to be just fine if you have all of your abilities running in syncopation. You know, if you can maintain your uptimes, then you'll be just fine. It's not too hard, right? I'm just sitting here babysitting those countdown timers to make sure that they don't hit 0. That's it. And then light attacking or heavy attacking in between. That's it. That's all you have to do as a healer. And then this way you got a 1 bar DPS, a 1 bar heal. As far as the weapons go, defending, like, I guess if I really wanted to push it, I would put defending on the main hand as well. So that way I have the resistances on both, and then it would be Crusher on that, and I don't know what I would do for the offhand enchantment, but I would go defending on both of these, and I'd probably change the resto staff to heal to a stamina, absorb stamina enchant, so I can regen stam when I'm on my resto bar, in case I need to be able to dodge roll, or you know what I mean, like, because there's been times where there's a couple of fights where the bosses will drain your resources and you'll need to heavy attack and then spam a heal, heavy attack and then do an ability, heavy attack, because you'd have to heavy attack to get back enough resources to do whatever ability it is you're trying to do. So just to keep it super simple and safe, and to make it, you know, purely like worry free, I can run around and do whatever I want. I would go with an absorb stamina chant on my resto bar. I would keep crusher on my element, on my destruction staff on my DPS bar, and I would do defending on both of my staffs. And that's pretty much it. And to show you like what sets I'm after, just to give you a heads up on that as well for the monster sets. This one isn't too shabby for the, again, you can see it's a recovery set, and Molokina is what I have right now. I haven't really, I got it in heavy, I got it in light, I haven't gotten it in anything else. I still need to work on getting rattle cage pieces and spell power cure pieces. And then getting them in the proper, like, training isn't exactly what I want. But yeah, that's pretty much, I'm gonna run either Molokinas most of the time, just because of the increase, and that's gonna take me up to like 6k and change once I can get the Molokina shoulders, and yeah, it's just more damage, more heals. Then my rapid will be healing for about 30k at that point. I'll have a 30k rapid regeneration for my heal, because we saw it jump up to 26, and then with the overkill for Molokinas, you know. So that was yeah, that was it. Just wanted to explain how, as far as making sure you get combat prayer down and you got channeled focus down, so you get your, you know, you can get your resistances to, like you see there, 32k spell, 20 whatever. 32k spell, 27k physical, you know. Really decent resistances. Being able to hit those caps is really good. And I think, yeah, I think that pretty much, I don't know. I'm trying to think of, was there anything else? Oh, the reason why I went with the last thing, the reason why I went with Elemental Storm instead of, is because I believe you can morph Elemental Storm to follow you around instead of being placed on the ground. So, the high mobility with, you know, rapids as a heal, as your heal is, it doesn't require these two require the people to know, like, to stand in them, to be by them. This requires you to be, you know, positionally aware. Rapids doesn't matter. Rapids just does its thing. And that's what the other thing, that's what I liked about the Storm is, I believe it can be morphed and it will follow me around, essentially. And if that's the case, then that's cool, because then I can, that between Jabby Spears and Storm, for that's a nice little AoE tandem, super easy to maintain. And that was the reason why I swapped from Nova to the Storm out of the Destruction staff line. Yeah.